What's up, guys? Gally here with Citizens Voice Podcast. This is season 2, episode 3. And today on the show, we have Acuze. And for those of you who don't know, he just dropped a really great video showcasing kind of the new player experience that all of us have been through at some point or another in Star Citizen. And for all of us veteran players, we all know how it is. Those videos are like crack. Um, it's an experience that once you have it, you can never have it again. And so getting to relive it through somebody else is really, really cool. So we'll talk a little bit about that new player experience, talk about some of his past and what got him here and what he's looking forward to in the future. And we'll just dig right in. So tell us a little bit about yourself for the viewers who may not have watched your video, which, by the way, guys, I will have dropped in the bio and description. So be sure to give him a follow on all his socials. And yeah, so tell us a little about yourself. Um, what games you like, what genres you like, and what got you into Star Citizen initially.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me because this community has been really good to me. So I appreciate you guys just giving these invitations to come be a part of the community. Honestly, it's been really really cool.
Yeah,
A little bit about myself is I've always just enjoyed creating content since I was really young. So I've been doing that for a while, and then once I started getting more into gaming and I had the ability to kind of create content with that, I've just always created gaming content, and I just really enjoy games as well. And I come from, as far as games go, I kind of play a lot of everything and anything. So like, I'm not just a space sim or FPS or whatever. I love story games. I love playing multiplayer games with my friends. So I guess I don't really come from one place, and there's a vast line of games that I play. Definitely, I'd say like the top games throughout my life would be COD, Grand Theft Auto, and then I've always loved DayZ. If you go to my channel, you'll see a lot of DayZ content there. But I've always loved DayZ, and just I guess within the last 2 years, it's definitely become my most played game. It never really was. It was always just a game that I really enjoyed since I was young, but I never took too seriously until more recently.
yeah,
So that's a little bit of about me and where I come from. And yeah, Star Citizen is just the new journey on that whole gaming adventure. So
absolutely. Um, so for those of you viewers who might be watching, he was recently on Space Tomatoes podcast, which I'll have linked as well because it was a great conversation. For this conversation, we're going to try to avoid rehashing a lot of the same things he talked about. So if you want to hear some more of, I don't want to say um, basic stuff, but if you want to hear some more of his like experience as he started playing, like onboarding and stuff, there he talked a lot more about that in Space Tomatoes podcast than I think we're going to talk about in this one. So definitely go give that one a check as well. Um, well, cool, man. I do appreciate it. Hopefully this will be a lot of fun. Um, so Daisy, I know you come from Daisy and have a lot of hours in that. When I heard that, I went back and watched one or two of your DayZ videos, and they're really well done as well. And
thank you.
it got me immediately thinking about how there are some similarities to the two games. And so I wanted to see, kind of from a new player's perspective, what you think some of those similarities might be between the two games, and maybe where you think those games do well and maybe where they don't do well and need some work, and then maybe kind of how those interact with each other.
Okay, yeah. So just to start off, just to not piss anybody off, I know these are two very very different games. So I'll start off with that and know that they're in two different places. But similarity wise, I think what really intrigues me about Star Citizen that I kind of look back on how much I enjoy DayZ is um is really the openness to it and the fact that like you're kind of put in for DayZ. It's a land. They have different maps, but it's a land. And then for Star Citizen, it's this vast universe, and I think I just really like that you can go there and it puts you there, and kind of anything is up to your imagination. as far as what the game allows, of course. But for the most part, like both of them really allow a lot of different things for you to do. Like for example, one of the more crazy things to do in DayZ that can be quite enjoyable is tying people up and holding them hostage. And what I've now realized, and I haven't tried this yet, but what I've been hearing and seeing with, I think it's the Icarus that people have been showing me, and they have the prison in there, the prison
Yeah.
cells. And you can just like take people and put them in there. Like
Yep.
that's so I think that's I love a game that allows you to just experience things like that. Um, and I find that kind of like its similarity for me. Also, what I'm finding is what I like about it is that I could just be, and I know that Dan and like maybe Pyro, like they have their different um rules to them, sort of, but there you could just be in the universe, and as long as you're not in a safe zone, somebody could just pick you off for no reason whatsoever. And that's like Daisy. You always have to be walking on edge, and I think it's good because you never know what you're gonna get, and it kind of puts you in like for Daisy, like a real world apocalyptic setting where people are gonna be, you know, looking to survive themselves, and they're willing to do whatever they want, whatever they need to do so. And I think you see that in Star Citizen where like people like pirates and stuff, for example, like they you always have that risk. And I think I like that because nothing's set in stone. You don't really know what's going to come to light today when you hop on.
Yeah.
You could have a plan and it could go completely sideways. And so I find those to kind of be similarities, which I really enjoy about the game.
Have you have you had experiences so far where you were like, I can do this in DayZ and I wish I could do it in Star Citizen?
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing for me right now with what I can do in DayZ and what I can't do in Star Citizen. And I briefed over this in the last and with Space Tomato was just
Yep.
the the proximity chat. And I know that's something that's going to be worked on, and I know sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Actually, recently I just talked to somebody in game for the first time. It worked, and somebody
Yep.
tried talking to me, and it was like so exciting to me. But I think that's something that I really love in DayZ that right now I haven't been able to experience in Star Citizen, and I think I feel like I'm missing out a lot from that, and it kind of changes the experience because in DayZ I can go in solo, and with proximity chat, I can meet someone in game. Like we don't have to meet outside of game, and or we don't have to meet in like a there's no global chat. So it's like we can meet in game, have like a real natural experience. We could go on a whole adventure that was never to be expected, and then we could never give out our socials or our Discord or anything, and we could die and never talk to each other again. And I think that'd be really cool with Star Citizen. I think that it could bring a lot of new experiences and a lot of variety to the game without really adding anything else. Like I think if you just have that, it opens a whole new opportunity for you to just meet people and go on a random adventure. You know?
Yeah. Yep. VoIP is number one on a lot of people's this needs to be fixed list, is
Right.
including mine. Well, actually, that's not true. Social tools is my number one, but VoIP kind of is in that whole
Group.
realm of like getting people into a party, meeting people, how do you interact with people, all of that is tremendously painful right now.
Right.
Yeah. So when you start coming over to Star Citizen, they kind of like you talk about in your video, they don't do a super great job of explaining anything to you. You kind of have to figure it out. And in my experience playing DayZ, I felt fairly similar. It felt like both of them have fairly rough onboarding experiences, but part of that I think is also some of the allure to a game like DayZ, where you kind of have to figure it out as you go, and it kind of can make it so that 1,000 hours later you're still learning things maybe that you didn't know before. What are, and this is more of a goofy question, what are maybe some things that in the last month or so of playing Star Citizen that you've been like, oh, like that's super cool. Like I just learned that. That's a cool feature. I didn't know I could do this. I didn't know I could do that. Any cool
Right.
things like that?
And so some of them are more stuff that like you probably want to learn earlier than later that I'm just happening to find out later,
Yeah.
like tab scans and tells you things about what's inside of people's ships. Like that would have been really great to know. I didn't know that for like I found that out a couple days ago. So stuff like that is just I feel like I'm granted I'm still new, but I feel like there's always something, especially control wise, that I'm still learning.
Yeah.
Which is good. I'm also like I think more in the less control side is there's just a lot of new things for me that I'm experiencing, and I'm definitely trying to take a slower pace at it because I feel like uh, well, like a lot of people came to my video, like it's nice watching a first time player because we played it for so long, right? And you kind of, not that it gets boring or stale, but that awe factor from the beginning is like it's not as new to you. You kind of know where you're
Yeah.
going. And stuff like that. So I'm trying to take it slow because I think there's so many things that I'm going to continue to learn, and things that I should probably already know. But it's just if I take it slow and I'm trying to figure it out, like yeah, I think I'm gonna have a lot more. I guess some people might say frustration. For me, I think like you said, it's a learning to have that learning curve.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm gonna have a lot more problems trying to figure it out slower and kind of try to figure things out on my own. But at the same time, I think it's also gonna like every time I turn that corner, something's gonna be like really impressive to me because someone didn't just like
Yeah.
throw me there, and it's like I had to figure it out. And I think that's kind of goes into just like in general, just learning everything about the game right now. There's so many things there. So yeah.
Yeah. And to your point, I think those are all perfectly valid, and as someone who has brought a lot of friends to play this game, I hear stuff like that often. Um, so one thing I'm curious about, because I've probably had 6 or 7 really good buddies come and they play Star Citizen. They play it for one session, maybe 2 sessions, and they're just like, I can't do it anymore. Like, there's too much jank going on, too many bugs, too many this, too many that. What I'm guessing you've experienced a decent amount of issues in your month or so of playing. What has kind of made it in your mind kind of an acceptable thing for you to the point that you're like, I'll keep playing this. Like I'm willing to just shrug right through these bugs and issues because of what, I guess.
Well, I think is like just knowing first of all that it's in alpha, and you can say it's been in alpha for too long or this and that, but the point is I bought in the game knowing what I was getting. Like I knew it was in alpha. I knew there was a decade plus of development there. So how would it be okay of me to come in and expect something polished? And how would it be okay of me to come in and expect, well, it's been in development for 10 years, it should be done by next year, right? Like that's not fair of me
Yeah.
to say. I knew what I was getting into. Um, and it didn't, it didn't take me long to figure that out. So I think just it just wouldn't be fair of me to judge it in that way. And I don't think anyone can really compare it. You can't compare it to a finished product or even an early access, nearly finished product. And it's definitely just not fair to do so. I think that also I have experienced a lot of bugs and stuff like that for sure, but there's also I think everyone likes different things. For me, I enjoy coming into an experience that there's issues here that one day I'm gonna look back at. If I'm still playing, one day I'm gonna look back at, and me and my friends are gonna laugh and be like, "Yo, remember that time when we used to fall through elevators?" And it's like, yeah, maybe at the time it kind of sucked when I was trying to get in the hangar, but now it's like, man, like, can we just go back? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And that's gonna happen. Like a lot of people who have been playing a lot are gonna have that, and I think there's just a it's gonna sound sappy as hell, but there's just something beautiful about being part of it right now and getting to see it go on forward that I think if you just have that outlook on it, you're gonna be less angry and you're gonna do yourself a service there by just looking at the bright side of this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's basically why I'm still here. Lord knows I deal with so many issues, but it's just like for me the pros far outweigh the cons. You're gonna have
Exactly.
days where you log in and you just want nothing more than to click uninstall and never play it again. and you're gonna have days where you play 7 days in a row, and somehow every day was better than the last day, and it just blows your mind, and
Yeah,
it's unreal.
for
Um,
sure.
so something a lot of the viewers who watch the show and are connected to it are interested in is PvP. So, including myself. So I'm curious. First off, have you had any PvP interactions so far?
I have, and we're gonna dive into that in the next video.
Oh, okay, okay. Um, without spoiling the video too much, um, give it like a rating. Was it a positive experience, negative experience? Do you feel like there are some issues there that need to be fixed?
Very, very positive, and what I'm kind of enjoying about it in this game is people are it doesn't seem as I mean, I've only had so few experiences so far, but it doesn't seem like this most games you get into and then once it gets popular or whatever, people come in and their whole thing is to make this huge skill gap. To me, it just seems like everyone's here to just have a good time and nobody's spending hours and hours and hours training to be good at PvP. You know, if I go into a DayZ lobby, somebody could have spent their entire playtime just in a deathmatch lobby trying to figure out how to be better at PvP, and they'll do some crazy stuff. So far in this, it seems like a pretty casual experience, which is nice because sometimes I can be really bad at PvP. So I think I've had a good experience so far, not feeling like people are going over the top with it.
Good. Um, I will say they exist. Um,
Good to know.
they definitely do exist. Um, there are. It's a small community though. Like, um, I'm fairly connected to that space within the game, and
Okay,
there. I would say the number of people who are like really trying to get better and are like doing the trainings, they're learning to like min max their ships and their loadouts to get the best DPS and the best methods to do all this stuff is probably under 1,500 players,
gotcha. And even
maybe
then,
2,000.
it's just great that the game allows you to kind of like pick what you want to focus on too. Like, you know,
Yeah,
if you want to focus on that stuff, it allows you the option to, which is really cool. And like, there's so many things to do that like not everybody is focusing on it, right? So
for sure.
I think it's just so cool, and there's such a wide range here.
Yeah, and that is absolutely true. And you get to experience that a lot in the PU when you'll be playing and like, yeah, I'm really connected to a lot of the guys who would probably be considered the sweats of the game, but how often do I see them in the game? Not very often. There's so many people playing this game that really the only time I ever see these guys is when like maybe we plan something with them and so we know ahead of time we're gonna meet up with them, um, or every once in a blue moon you'll find them in the PU. But to your point, there's so many people doing so many different things at once that you kind of just run into and stumble into that
Hmm.
one day you'll go to a location and there's a massive fleet battle raging overhead. The next day you'll go and no one will be there and it's you have it to yourself. And the third day you'll go and there's a ground battle happening with tanks and vehicles and stuff on the ground, and it's a totally different experience, and almost every single time it's with different people, different circumstances, and different really fun different strategies and different tactics being used to try to win fights or do whatever. And oftentimes it's not in a very sweaty way. It's usually a lot of like meme strategies and funny stuff going on. So it is a really it's a really fun world to get into. Can be a little toxic. Can be a little toxic, but
That's okay. Every
um,
game can be.
it if you like trash talk, there's plenty of that to go around for sure.
Well,
Um,
there you go.
so as far as we'll touch a little bit on like onboarding and stuff and kind of how the game has taught you to do certain things. Would you say we'll focus on PvP for now? You've had one or two fights, sounds like. A couple of interactions.
Yeah, few. I could count them on my hands, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you're going into maybe like say your first or second fight, how do you feel like did you go in there thinking this isn't going to go well, like I'm really new, I must not know all these things that I'm going to get hit with, or did you go in with a degree of confidence like I feel like I understand how to fly, I understand how to shoot? Where did you kind of feel in that comfort scale going into it?
So I haven't had. Well, I've had very little experience ship combat.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
Which that was concerning at first. I was definitely a little worried about that one. I didn't know what to expect, seeing as people have been playing and flying in this game for quite a while. And if
Yep.
you've watched my last video, you know I like to run into things a lot. um, so that one was concerning. Being on ground was. Uh, I didn't know. Like my first couple times, I didn't really expect too much to happen. I was kind of being led blindly into some places where PvP exists, and so I wasn't concerned until it happened. And when it happened, it was just all moving so fast that I don't really think I had time to really consider how I felt, but
Yeah.
there was a time that I'm thinking of specifically where I went in alone and and I knew that there were people around and I knew they were hostile, and that was the first time in hot because it's different when you're with people, but the first time when I was in alone is the first time I really felt like so much tension that is really the first time I felt something as similar as being in PvP in DayZ.
Yeah.
And it's just like it was so much tension and I felt like I was about to get my ass whooped. and
Yep.
yeah, so it was definitely a lot of fear for the first time going in alone for sure.
Now, something I think is really interesting to ask you because I think you come from a background of people that the average Star Citizen player, I would say, does not come from, which is a very hardcore experience. Daisy, did
Right.
you play on modded servers or not modded servers?
Most like modded servers and the fact that they have less cheaters, but vanilla,
Vanilla
like
experience?
very
Okay.
vanilla experience.
Yeah, so vanilla is not uh, easy by any metric, and
Yeah.
uh, a big factor when it comes to survival games in DayZ, as you know, is the sense of loss. You can lose things. One wrong step, some guy with a bolt action chopped your head off from 1,000 meters away. You've lost all your gear. He's gonna go take it. You're now back to square one. Um, or maybe you're in your base or whatever. Um, what in Star Citizen we currently don't have that. Uh, you die, you lose your ammo maybe if they take it, but you don't can't lose your armor, you can't lose your guns. Um, Curious what your thoughts are on that. Do you like that we can't loot stuff? It is more of a casual experience, so do you like where we currently stand when it comes to looting?
No, not personally, but I also don't really see my problem is I don't like pointing out problems if I don't feel like I have a proper solution to it. And
Yep.
the problem is I don't have a proper solution because this isn't a survival game. This is a very different game. So, when I like the idea in my head and I don't know how you would properly implement it,
Yep.
but I like the idea is if I die, whether it's my fault, whether I engaged in combat or whether somebody engaged with me, regardless, I like the idea that I should always be ready. In that if I die, that armor that I worked 10 hours or 5 hours or whatever to grind for, I should be able to lose. And at the end of the day, it gives you a reason to go get double sets, and it gives you a reason to go replay certain things, right? Because you could lose it or it could
Yeah.
go away. So I like the idea of losing stuff, even if it's important and even if you worked hard for it. But again, I come from DayZ where I could go
Yeah.
do a run for 20 hours and then I'll be on the coast with nothing. You know what I mean? So But it also is a very different experience. I What I don't like the idea of at the same time is people being able to take your armor off of you because, and the reason is in Star Citizen, the reason is I think it could define how people interact with you, right? Rather than being friendly with you or trying to have, maybe they weren't planning on initially engaging with you, but they see, oh, you know what, you have a really rare armor, so I'm going to come after you for no reason. And I feel like I could see the problem with that because all of a sudden you kind of incentivize this very hostile community. So I could see issues with that as well. So I like the idea of losing your stuff when you die, and maybe there's like a small time period where you can go and get it back if it's there.
Yep.
But I don't really like the idea for Star Citizen of just being able to pick up somebody's armor, because then that takes it, like, why would I go do um why would I go do Onyx facilities for ASD when I could just camp somebody out and take it off of him? You know what I mean?
Yep. And that right there is the debate we've heard for my entire time playing this game. So up until, I don't know if anyone has told you this or not, up until about um a year and a half ago, I think, maybe a year ago, something like that, we got what's considered called tier 0 item recovery, which basically makes it so that when you die, you keep all your armor, you keep the guns on your back, and the only thing you can lose is your ammo and what's in your backpack. Prior to that, it was just loot everything. Armor, backpacks, guns, anything. Anytime you died, they could strip you naked and take all your stuff. And a lot of people didn't like that. There's some pros and cons to it. Um, so their new system, which I'm curious what your thoughts are on this, I'll explain it a little bit, is basically tied to like blueprints and crafting. So say you worked really hard to get that armor set in Onyx facility. Instead of physically getting the armor set, maybe at the end you would get a blueprint for that armor set. And then you'd have to craft the armor set with your materials, but then you could die and you could still lose that armor set, but you wouldn't lose the blueprint. So
Gotcha.
you would still have earned the item or the ability to get the item, but then you can also still lose it at the same time. The physical asset would get removed, but the blueprint would stay. And we're kind of working towards that now. We're not quite there yet. Like this next patch won't have that in, sounds like. But maybe the next patch after that. We do know we're getting close to that type of system. Curious what your thoughts are on that. Kind of like a hybrid where you can still lose stuff, but you also have a way to get it back.
So I think that's a good solution, like in its own. I think there's lots of ways you can do it to make it where it's risky to die, but you also don't. I understand, like a lot of people don't come from my background. I would just be completely fine with losing everything, but at the same time, to make it, you got to cater to your community. And I think if it makes sense to have blueprints, like I think that's also a really good idea too. So I don't think one is right or wrong. I think they're both equally really, really good ideas. My only real concern um, is can people take it off of you? Because I feel
Yeah.
like then that just, why, like, again, why would you go grind for an armor that you could just kill somebody for, right? Like it almost takes away a reason to even, what's the what's the purpose of going to get it and hope to find it?
Yeah, so I think to answer that question, that's kind of why the whole blueprint thing works because um, the reason would be say you do the Onyx facility, you go in, you've earned it, you're now coming out with it, but I kill you. I take it from you, but the problem is that you've earned the blueprint and I haven't. So when I use that armor, if someone kills me in that armor set, I don't have a way to get it back because I never earned the blueprint for it, but you did. And so you went through the gameplay, and now for the rest of your time playing, you can now craft that rare armor set. And anytime I want that rare armor set, I have to go kill somebody for it and steal it from them or take it off of them. And so it kind of makes it that is basically the reason. You basically have unlocked it essentially, and you can now
I
build
see.
and craft it whenever you want. as opposed to me who can't do that because I haven't gone through that loop. I haven't played through those missions or done those facilities or done that raid, whatever it is it might be. Um, so, yeah, it's an interesting system.
It is. It is a really interesting system, and I'm honestly quite excited and intrigued to see how it all comes together.
Me too. And hopefully they've been giving us updates. Hopefully we start seeing some more better versions of that soon. And the reason they kind of had to do this was the problem was people can buy armors with physical cash on their website. I can go on their website right now, buy an armor set. It'll be in my hangar. Um, the problem was the old system. They didn't have a way for you to get it back. So the what people would do is they would. Has anyone like have you ever melted anything on the game? Has anyone explained that process of like melting items?
I've read about it, but no, I've not done it myself.
So basically, you can return that item and get store credit back for equal value. So people would lose the armor set and then go on the website, basically return their armor, get the credit, and then go buy it again. So they'd get it back again, which is a completely unsustainable system. And then it also doesn't work for any in-game armors. So like that really rare armor set you grinded for that you can't buy on the website, there was no way to get that back. And so they kind of had to come up with this system where like now on the store coming up once this is implemented, you won't be able to just buy a physical armor set. Instead, you'll buy the blueprint for that armor set, and then you'll have to craft it. Um, and that will make it so that both the in-game armor sets that you can only get in-game can work with the system, and the ones you can get on the store. Because I think there's some weird laws around like buying things and then permanently losing them. So they had to like have some kind of way to get around that where you could get these items back. So yeah, the whole system is really interesting. The whole thing though, in case you watch videos or hear people talk about it, you'll hear people refer to it as item recovery. That's kind of the big name of this system.
Gotcha. So
Um,
I'm intrigued then because how are they gonna work with people who have already bought an armor and not a blueprint? Because at the end of the day, they sold an armor, not a blueprint, right? So how are they gonna work with that? Um, is what I'm kind of curious about. And I was wondering this too because at some point, eventually, there's not going to be wipes. So how do you get that armor back that you bought? And I was wondering that as well. So
yeah,
I guess you just kind of explain that. But like, how do they now fix that for the people who have purchased an armor and not a blueprint?
my guess is what will happen based on kind of the past history. Anytime they make a big change like this big change will come with a patch. And with that patch, generally the way it works is when the game updates, you go into a new patch, the game is looking at your hangar and saying, okay, here's a record of everything you had last patch, and here is a record of everything you should have next patch. And then it's going to look at it and go, okay, all of these items from your old patch are like some of these are store bought items. Well, the new patch doesn't support this, so we need to convert all of these store bought armors into store bought blueprints. And they'll just do a conversion of the items you've already purchased. Um, and they'll convert them from physical armors into blueprint armors, and then you'll craft them from then on out.
Right, but I feel like that still might cause issues with the not every consumer. I think a lot of people will be happy with that, but I'm sure there's going to be some people that are going to be like, but I don't want to craft the armor. I paid for the armor. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And that's complete. I think that's a completely fair argument too.
Yep.
So like, how do you kind of work? Like, I guess you wouldn't have the answer, but I'm just
Yeah.
curious to see how they would work around that because I'm sure there's gonna be that, right? Like, Star Citizen, you know how
Oh
it is,
yeah.
and just people in general. So, yeah,
I suspect this is pure speculation. I suspect the answer will be, "Hey guys, remember when you boot up the game every single time you have to click approve because we're in alpha and we're still developing, we're still changing?" That's the reason. We
right,
are actively changing and we've been saying it from day one. Things are subject to change at all times and you're buying in to support this and unfortunately this is the route we've decided to go.
right.
The
It's
cold
super
hard
interesting. It
truth.
can be.
I
That's
suspect
true.
it's gonna be something like that. But yeah, the whole that's one of my like that was honestly one of the most frustrating things for me. Like I come from extraction shooters, I come from survival shooters. To me, like killing somebody and then getting the reward of all of your loot was like it's the best feeling. It doesn't it's unmatched. Like you play Arc Raiders, Marathon, Escape from Tarkov, Daisy, Rust, killing people and getting to take their stuff is an elite feeling. And when they remove that from the game, I will say that there was kind of an overwhelming sense of, well, why do I fight now? Um, and so nowadays, you'll hear people talk a lot about in PvP, you'll hear them talk about play dates. It's like, we're just fighting now just for the love of the game. Because at the end of the day, if you win and you kill all of us, you don't really get anything because I kept all of the coolest stuff. My cool armor sets, my cool guns, all that stuff is still here. And there's just not a real reason to fight for things unless there's like a few specific locations where like maybe you're trying to defend a site because there's like an item that you want to like about to respawn and you want to protect it. But
Right.
generally speaking, most times you're in a fight with somebody, reality is you could have not fought that person and been equally as fine because at the end of the day, neither of you gain anything from it.
I 100% agree with you. And like it's just like even store bought pieces of armor. It's like if you don't lose it, then you never have a reason to go rebuy it. Like you buy it once, and as long as you don't misplace it, like you always have it. You know what I mean? And I think that's, in my opinion, takes away from the experience. And I also just like I'm not too afraid in combat because the worst I'm gonna do is lose some ammo. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep.
Like so what?
The honestly the biggest thing you lose now is time. The time it takes
Yeah,
for you to reset, get back in your ship and get back to whatever it is that you were trying to do. That is
yeah.
the biggest thing you lose. Who cares if I lost a 3 AUEC magazine of whatever rifle I'm using? I have
100%.
6,000 of them in my hangar and I can buy 100 million more if I need. Um, and yeah, the whole thing is it's interesting. I could talk for ages about this. I am a big hater of the current setup. Um, but we'll do a little transition here. Um, when it comes to so I know in your video you kind of at the end you went on a little bit of shopping spree because you got given a lot of money. Um, I'm curious, one, how that changed your experience, and two, kind of a follow up to that would be, um, what do you hope to see the progression look like in the form of economy or like earning money, earning items? What are some things that you think would be cool to see in the game, and maybe things that would be annoying or frustrating to see?
Yeah, the earning money at first was a mix of this is awesome. I have all this money, and well, I have all this money. What the hell am I gonna do? So I could have just sent it away, and I started kind of just thinking internally, like, well, there's eventually at some point, just based on reading on Reddit, there's gonna be a wipe
Yeah,
eventually, and the economy is probably eventually gonna get fixed. So why not just take this time to go and experience some cool things that I may one day just have to like. One day I'm gonna have to grind for $60 million to buy her
yeah,
expensive shit. You know what I mean? So why not just go in and experience that part. And at this point, I didn't know a lot of what Star Citizen had to offer. Like my base knowledge was I can do cargo and I could do bounty hunting and I could do like little things here and there. Right? I mean, I hadn't really experienced the go out on your own and all these cool, interesting things that you can do that people like to say you can't do because you can.
yeah,
um, but so in my head, I was like, well, if I have all the money, why do I got to go to work today in game,
yeah,
right? Like hauling or whatever. Why do I have to go to work? And and so that was a bit of an experience because I was like, yeah, I bought the first ship, which was the Constellation, I guess. I was like, you know what, like it's gonna wipe eventually. I might as well just see what's there. And as I was doing that, I was just like, now what? Like, what
Yeah.
do I do now? And I kind of felt lost for a little moment, but I went on YouTube and I went on Reddit and I said, and I just like looked at things that you could do. And um and then it kind of intrigued me more, and that's when I figured out about like the ASD Geist armor. And so I
Yep.
was gonna go for that, but then I had so I was like, that's a really cool thing that I'm gonna go for. And as I was thinking about doing that, I uploaded my video, and that just went well where such a large amount of community decided to come and try and show me things. And so far the money hasn't affected me too much because I've just found other ways to experience the game, which is kind of the topic on what's coming next on my channel. It's just like there's more to experience in the game than I could have even thought from that first video and my first experience. And it's kind of just a way to show that. So you come in new and you think you're learning everything, but like you're constantly going to be learning in this game. um
Yep.
so yeah, that's kind of the where the money put me. And as far as like what I wish for it to be in the future, as far as the economy and stuff, I don't know what their plans are after 1.0, if they ever plan to wipe it or just never plan to wipe it. If they never plan to wipe it, you're just gonna have to make an economy that just is it has very, very long, like a lot of longevity to it, right? Like
Yeah.
there are a lot of players who do like to just do the more mundane, simple things like hauling or mining or whatever, and they're not gonna want to earn millions of dollars in the first week. You know what I mean? They're gonna want to spend a week for one ship, so then next week they can work towards the next and stuff,
Right.
right? So I think you just have to find a way to balance longevity for those players, and then also the people who like to do the more group stuff or like to do the more crazy stuff, right? And so I guess I don't really know where that should be. It should definitely just have its as grounded of a balance as possible, I think.
Yep. Out of curiosity, have you interacted with Wicklow at all?
Not yet. I'm excited for that one. I want to, so I've heard it's not something that I'm going to be able to do solo as far as doing those Wicklow missions, at least not all of them. But it was something that I kind of wanted to just go in like alone and see for the first time because I feel like it's going to show me a lot of new things to the game.
Yeah, yeah. I won't spoil much. I'll let you keep that experience for yourself. One thing I think is cool about Wicklow, Wicklow as a whole, like from a back end standpoint, is really terrible. Um, the turning in items to finish the mission is oftentimes very broken. You can spend 20, 30, 40 hours grinding to like get all the items needed to get an armor or a ship or a gun, and then the game just eats it all and you get nothing. I
Terrible.
literally just saw a tweet this morning from another content creator named Detox, and his group has put over 300 hours into getting the items required for the Idris ship. And currently, it's the only way to get that ship in game is you have to go through Wicklow. And 300 hours, massive amounts of items. I've done it myself as well. It's incredibly long and tedious and painful, and the game ate all of it. He got he got nothing from it, and it's extremely painful. But the positives of it is it was one of the first times playing Star Citizen where there was a sense of a grind, and I'm not talking just straight cash. Um, there was a really cool sense of like I have to travel to here, to here, to here, to here, to here to get all these different items, and sometimes you have to get a lot of multiple different items to hand them all in to complete a task, to complete this barter, to get this ship or this armor or this item. And there was something incredibly satisfying about that compared to I've earned 80 million credits. I'm going to go buy 6 ships right now.
Mhm.
I'm personally not a huge fan of like cash being your only form of progression. There has to be kind of some other stuff in there. And so I'm definitely curious to hear what your thoughts will be post Wicklow experience once you get to try that out, because it'll be interesting to see if your thoughts change at all based on that experience and kind of what it shows you as far as um, interacting with the game. Because what they've done really well with is keeping it updated, so they're constantly adding new ships and new items you can get from Wicklow, and oftentimes the items that you need to complete these tasks are tied to the latest thing the game added in. And so there's kind of like a whole loop of like you can look at the things that first started out with Wicklow and do the things that are just added. And if you did all of them, the amount of gameplay that you would discover in trying to find all these different items, you would really get a really good understanding of the game at that point. So
Right.
it's a cool setup for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited to go down that road. And like I just even the thought of just I'm with you there, like cash, there's so many ways to get cash, but I like the idea of like you follow this and you can unlock something. And I also just think that at some point they should do that with ships that you can't get any other way. Like I mean, I'm sure the Idris, I don't know if you can buy it on the store, I think.
No, and that's the interesting part about it is um, there are certain ships. I think it's above $1,000, which is insane already. Um, we won't talk about ship prices right now, but um, generally ships that are over $1,000 go into what they call a wave system, which means they're limited. There's only so many that they'll sell, and so they'll do a wave, and they do these waves generally during really big sales, so that they always have two big sales every year, which I know Space Tomato talked to you about a little bit. Invictus Launch Week and IAU, which are the big conventions, and then maybe they do one or two other sales throughout the year. But even so, those only last about a week. So there's like maybe 2 or 3 weeks out of the year where they'll do a wave, and you're fighting the entire community for a very small quantity of these ships. And they're very expensive. Like the Idris, for example, is like $1,900 and it sells out in literal seconds. Just immediately. Every single wave it sells out. So like right now, if you go in the store, you can't buy an Idris. The only way to get an Idris is through Wicklow currently. But that is only true for like four ships, I think, out of the like 200 that we have in the game. So majority of ships you can buy.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was gonna say like I like the idea of like I understand the whole like you gotta make you gotta make money and like every game monetizes and stuff and I think Shifts is a really good way to do that. Like I think their business model is exceptional. I know a lot of
Yeah,
people knock it, but I think it's exceptional. And I think on a business standpoint, like it makes a lot of freaking sense, okay? But I do like the idea of, like, just having a select few ships that just, like, you can get in the game and you can feel proud to have it, like, 'cause it's like, nobody assumes you bought it, nobody assumes that
yeah,
you bought it with in-game money, like, you worked for that, right? And you put, like, a lot of work into that, and that's the only way you can that's, like, a way to show that, like, you did that, and I think that's really cool.
yeah,
Um Especially when it's like a quest line or a objective missions or whatever that are difficult to do because it's like not everybody just has it.
yeah.
And so I think that's a really cool concept and I love that idea.
That is one of the. I absolutely agree. I cannot agree with that more. That was one of the coolest things about me and my org getting me the Idris was I don't own one in game. Or I don't own one for cash, like majority of the people who do. I am one of the few people who was able to earn one fully in game. And what's cool about Wicklow is, especially for ships, they oftentimes have unique paints that you can only get if you got them through Wicklow. And on top of that, they also usually have unique names. So like the Idris, for example, is like uh, I think the Wicklow War Idris or something like that. Like it specifically calls it out, and it's like,
Okay.
yeah, this is a unique name. I know there's a fighter called the F8, and that one's like the Wicklow War Mod F8C Lightning. Um, there's some other variations. They generally, though, rule of thumb is they all have a unique paint and they all have a unique name. And to your point, it really is. It's a cool thing to be like, yeah, I don't have to guess. I can look at that guy's ship and I can see that paint and go, wow, he earned that in game. That's cool.
Yeah, and, like, as someone who did it, like, it might sound silly, but, like, it feels good to be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna ride around in this thing that I worked for, and, like, I can show it off, and I'm proud of
Yeah.
it," you know what I mean? Yeah, and one thing I was just thinking of, I wanna get off my chest quick, um, before I forget, it's a little off topic, but I think they should also, and I'm sure at some point they probably will, there should be a way to take ships out of your hangar, like, you can remove them somehow, and it wouldn't make sense to get like the full amount back that you paid in game for it, but maybe like you get salvage parts or something for it because
Yep.
nothing's worse than having duplicate ships that you don't want in your hangar or things like that, or just like having too many ships and you want to get rid of them. So I think
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw that out there quick before I forget.
That they are working on that. I don't think they've announced fully what that setup will be. I do think it's going to be a combination of you can sell ships and also you can break them down. But that's changing in the next couple of months. I don't know the
Okay.
details on that fully, but that is something they're aware of and they are working to come up with a better system because I very much agree. I have like 50 ships in the game, I think, and some of them are
Yeah.
duplicates and it's like, yeah, I really don't need to see the same ship 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
Um so I'm curious what your thoughts are when it comes to like progression because right now and for the foreseeable future, ships is the progression. You've got a few different ways of getting ships, but generally speaking, ships is your end goal. How do you feel about that? Do you like the ships as kind of a form of progression when it's also a form of funding? Or do you wish it was a little bit more separate in terms of like how they make money as a studio and how you progress through the game?
Yeah, I don't mind that it's connected to their funding as well because at the end of the day, like as a consumer, I know that not to not support the game because I am a supporter of this game already, but I think in a way that it could honestly be more hurtful to them than anything, and maybe that's something for them to consider. But as a player, I'm like, I don't want to go buy a ship because that's gonna take away the reason to work for it in game. You know what I mean? That's gonna take away from my play time and the hours that I'm gonna put into the game and things that I'm gonna do and things that So I don't have a problem with that at all. I think that if everyone likes to play different, if you want to take away parts of the game by buying a ship, like go for it. I mean, maybe you enjoy having the ship, and maybe your play style is different than mine, and that's completely fine to me. Um, so I don't have a problem with that. I think for a progression, though, I think it makes sense that ships are at again, like it's still an alpha, right? And there's still so much to be done. And
Yeah.
I think right now it makes sense to have a ship because there's some really expensive, really cool ships that are kind of like in GTA. It's like buying a mansion. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's just the mansion of Star Citizen. So I think that's completely fine. And then down the line, I know that they want to do base building and stuff like that.
Yep.
Um, there's gonna be a whole new progression there, and it's
Yeah.
just like I think it's so easy to say, well, see it and look and be like, well, they don't have this yet or whatever, or they need to work on this, but there's such a long road ahead, and I think that we're not even near. I mean, we aren't near the finished product, so I think
Yep.
it all is gonna change over time. My opinion, though, is in due time it'll all come together, and progression is gonna change significantly.
Wise answer. Wise answer. You mentioned base building, which is a great segue into probably what will be our final topic as we are starting to get closer here to an hour. Um, did you do a lot of base building in DayZ?
I've experienced with it, but I haven't done like an extreme amount. I'm definitely not a base building first type of player.
Okay. Um, so I was curious what your experiences were in DayZ base building and kind of how you think because obviously Daisy has rating. It can be a huge part. Some people love rating in survival games and rating someone's base. Um, there's some PvP elements there. There's some looting elements there. There's some territory control elements there. Whatever it is, there can be a lot of cool gameplay that comes from base building, both in the building of the base, maintaining it, attacking it. Curious what your experiences were in Daisy on that, and if that kind of inspired any ideas of like, this makes me excited knowing Star Citizen has base building coming down the line, and if there's any kind of cool ideas maybe you want to see brought over or things maybe you don't want to see.
Right. So with base building and Daisy, there's a few runs that I've had with like a group of players in the past that I think has been quite exciting and it's just like such a cool idea. For example, I had this one this is back when my friends got me into like this really modded server. Usually play vanilla, but I was definitely in a modded server at this time. And there was just so many factions involved in this server. And so me and some guys that I literally just met like a couple weeks prior in DayZ, we added each other on Discord and stuff. It's great. We still play together today, so it's really cool. But we started our own little group and we started base building, and then somebody started a base in the same town as us, and we became allianced with each other. So like, we did trades and stuff with each other, which is cool. And then we were planning to go after one of the really big factions, and we were going to work towards getting enough material so that we could raid this really big faction in the server. And somehow they'd heard of it, so they sent in a little guy to say he was new to the game and he was just getting into it to come over and ended up joining our group. And the one guy we were alliance with, they trusted them. And the whole premise of that was we played with this guy for like weeks. And just for him to go back to his faction, he was just getting intel the whole time. And you go back to his faction, and they raided us, knew our codes, didn't have to blow anything up, knew all of our codes because they've been playing with us for 3 weeks. So incredible story. It was so amazing, but it's just like it's such a cool thing that I think Star Citizen could really use. I don't know how. I think it could be so much different, and honestly, in a lot of ways, even better in Star Citizen, because when you're playing Daisy, it's really grounded to what a realistic survival element would be. So you have
Yeah,
like wood bases, and you can throw on like metal sheets on it if you want or whatever. But Star Citizen is like, this is to the point where we're in a point of time where uh, the civilization is advanced enough to have spaceships and stuff.
yeah,
So I think you're looking at, I don't know if you ever played Subnautica or whatever, but when I'm thinking of Star Citizen, I'm thinking bases where you have all these different materials and you can make glass windows or whatever. You can't do that in Daisy. You can't make glass because how would you make glass in an apocalypse?
yeah,
I don't know. Um, so I think there's just so many different ways that it can be implemented in Star Citizen. As far as rating goes, it's gonna be a weird one because you have ships and you have really powerful ships and stuff like that. So, like, once you have that, you could get demolished, like, pretty quickly without the right air defenses or whatever.
yeah,
So I think rating is such a weird thing when I think of Star Citizen, not in a way that I don't like it, just, like, how would you implement it properly in a way that's balanced for everybody?
yeah,
So I'm kind of interested and excited almost to really see how that comes together and if they allow rating and stuff like that. I think there's a video on it, but I haven't looked into it yet where they kind of explain a little bit more about it.
yep,
So I haven't looked into that yet. So I don't know if rating is going to be a thing or not, but I'm really intrigued to see if they choose to go down that road, how they'll make it.
yeah. Yes, they definitely will be rating, but they won't allow offline rating.
Okay.
Um, so the current understanding of how it'll work is currently you can be on multiple shards. Like depending on what day you play, it's just gonna toss you in a random shard that it finds for you. The goal down the road is that that's not the case, and we're kind of like if you're in North America, you're in one big North America server, and everyone's in the same server, for example. But in the meantime, as we're going up to that, you might see a base on a planet or whatever and be like, oh, I want to raid that base. But if that base is in a different server than you, because you'll still see it even if it's in a different server, it'll then prompt you to be like, hey, if you want to raid this base, you have to join this server. And then it'll be like, do you want to go? And then you could hop servers. But even then, you can only raid them if one of their guys is online. So they have to be online. You got to be on their server so that they have a good chance to defend, basically. Now, what we don't know is like what can you get from bases. We don't know like can you loot them? Can you completely demolish the base? Can you take control of it? Can it become yours? We don't know anything like that yet. Too far out in the future, I imagine. But raiding will definitely be a thing. They also have player built space stations. That'll be like big group org stuff. Not really something maybe you and your buddy will be able to do together, but you could raid space stations as well. And on the raiding side, they have some pretty cool stuff with, I think they're calling them planetary shield generators. So it sounds like someone kind of has explained it to you already, but in 1.0, we're going to have five different systems, and each system is going to have like a security rating. So Terra, which isn't in the game yet, that'll be the last one they add. That one will
Okay.
be the safest. And then I think it's Stanton, which is what we have today. Um, and then Castro, which we don't have, and then Nyx, and then Pyro in that order, and from safest to most dangerous.
Okay.
And some of those systems will have like a shield generator that you and your group will have to fight for. And whoever wins that fight and controls this shield generator basically gets to shoot down a shield at their base and keep their base safe for about a week, according to what they've currently said. And
Interesting.
they'll have those scattered on planets and moons and all over the place, and people will have to fight to control these. And then after a week, it'll disengage and the fight begins again to try to
Interesting.
control and keep your base safe. Then the other interesting side is how AI comes into play because some of the safer systems will be really patrolled heavily by the in-game factions and the government and stuff. So like in Terra and Stanton, which are both very high security systems, they call them, there's going to be tons of AI patrols and fleets and things like that so that if you even dared try, you're going to have an AI military fleet descend upon you and just eviscerate you almost
Right.
immediately. But then like in a pyro, you're not going to get that experience because it's lawless. There's nothing out there. Nothing's coming to help you. Nothing's coming to save you. You're on your own. And
Right.
so, depending on where you are, the experience will change pretty dramatically. And then the pros and cons to that is the safer the system, the less rewards, I guess, for being there. If it's maybe not as good minerals, not as good materials to craft, you're not going to
Mhm.
find as many blueprints, etc., etc. And then the more dangerous it gets, the more high risk but high reward it gets too. So it's a cool trade off.
It is a really cool trade-off. I'm interested to see. I don't know if they've talked about this at all. I'm really interested to see how, if, especially if they're showing bases from amongst like even other servers. I'm really interested to see how they go about making sure that your base either isn't overlapping or even too close to somebody else's.
Yeah, I don't. They haven't really touched on that a whole ton, but I think the current model is what they call land claims, which is basically, I think it's a 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer box, and you basically stake your land claim on the ground, and then that gets tied to you and your ownership. And what I believe is that they then take that data and populate it on every server within the region. So, say every North America server would see that base there. But like Europe and Asia, they will not see those because they're in a different region.
Right.
So I don't know how that actually works, like the technology behind it, but generally speaking, you stake your land claim and it gets populated on every server within that region.
And have they discussed, like, do they plan on doing this with absolutely like zero wipes ever? Because well, eventually it's going to get pretty crowded.
Yeah, I believe their idea is to never have any wipes. But the way to deal with the overcrowding thing, like you're talking about, is through base degradation and through taxes. So
Gotcha.
if you don't maintain your base, then over time it'll start to fall apart and slowly just disintegrate.
That's a
Or
good
if you
idea.
don't pay your taxes, the government will just seize it and just be like, nope, you can't have this anymore. It's gone.
Right.
And that's basically going to be their way to essentially delete bases to
That's a really good idea.
keep the space open and can keep things moving. Because I agree, otherwise you would just every planet would just turn into a city.
Yeah, yeah,
One of the really
literally.
cool things that I love about Star Citizen, and I'm sure you've experienced this as well, is just kind of the sense of scale. It's
Yeah,
incredible when you realize truly how much ground there is to cover between now three solar systems. And like people have actually done the math. I don't remember what the numbers are, so I'm going to kind of make it up to kind of show the point. But like if I wanted to physically walk across Hurston and walk across that entire planet, it would take me like 72 hours or 100 hours or something like that to physically walk around the entire planet. And then some other person did the math and was like, if you took the total number of Star Citizens in the game right now, which is like 5 million, and you gave them all a 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer square of land, you wouldn't even fill up Stanton. Like you wouldn't even be close because there's that
right.
much square footage of land available to you. So I'm curious to see how often, to your point, we're going to see issues with overcrowding. Like, are we? Why would you want to be next to somebody? What are the pros and cons to that? Are there going to be hot spots? Are we going to start to see like player cities form basically because there's a reason to go there? They haven't really talked about that, but it's something I'm super excited about. Is like what makes you choose to go there? Or
Yeah, I think it
yeah,
fundamentally changes the game, just the idea of it even, and I think that's so cool too, is that the Star Citizen you see today is, like, not even nearly what it's gonna be like in 5, 10 years, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
it's just there's things that not only change and, like, update and upgrade, but there's things that are gonna change how people play, and I think that's just so intriguing to me. It's so intriguing.
yeah, absolutely. Um, well, we will begin to wrap up here. Um, Wanted to say thank you for coming on again as well. I've had a great time talking with you. We're about hour and 6 minutes, which is pretty good time. Um, Want to give you the chance. Any final thoughts or things you want to share to the viewers out there?
Um, no, honestly, just thank you guys for being so warm welcoming to me in this community. I think it's a nice little change to see in a gaming community because there's definitely a lot of, especially online, there's just so much negativity, and I think I've seen majority just positivity and welcoming, which has been really cool, and people who want to help. So I can't express that enough, and it definitely makes this experience just tenfold so much better. Not that it wasn't good already, but it's really cool to see, and it definitely gives me high hopes for my experiences with the community in the future.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we are happy to have you join the verse, and look forward to seeing you in the verse. I know we've talked a little bit about maybe having you come along, join us for some of our arms deals or stuff like that. So maybe we'll catch you in a YouTube video or something like that. But for the viewers out there, are you willing to give us a sneak peek into the release date of your next video? Have you figured that out yet?
It really just depends on editing time. I was trying to push it for this Saturday.
Yep.
I thought that would have been the best, especially with the whole new update coming out, and I really do want to make a video on that too. And my editing process does take a lot of time sometimes.
Yep.
So I think I'm still gonna try to aim for Saturday, but don't hold my word on that. If it ends
Yep.
up being later, it could just end up being later. I don't want to rush anything. I think that I take a lot of pride in just taking my time to make sure that everything kind of there's. I think it's the little things that really make up for the entire content in the whole video. So I'm just gonna really
For
focus
sure.
on that, and I don't think there's any need to rush. I don't feel like I'm missing my opportunity by not having it on Saturday. So, I'll just take my time and aim for Saturday. If not, then there will be an update at some point.
So we'll sum it up by dropping soon TM.
Yeah.
Dropping
Yeah.
soon TM. All right, guys. Well, that is Acuze. Like I said, give him a subscribe, a sub, give him a follow. I'll have all his socials in the description below. Thank you again for coming on, and we will call it there. This is the Citizens Voice podcast, season 2, episode 3. I'm your host, Gally. signing out.